Yo, 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 yo. Here we are. Make sure this is working here on the live stream. All right, cool. Let's get rolling. So, whoa, turn that off. All right, cool. So we have an indie rock song here today. Did sound design on it last week. Got the vocals all edited, tuned, guitars tuned, everything's ready to go. Got a little bit of mix prep. I didn't do it all, just because I'm seeing if I can get away with it, with not doing it. And we'll just kind of integrate that into the process here. So, and then that way I can explain sort of why I'm doing it and why I'm replacing plugins with certain other plugins and blah, blah, blah. So, first thing, as always, is got to get my subs right. And usually I do that by bass and drums in solo. So let's just check that out. I'll probably break it down to just drums, but we'll check it out. So it's feeling a little sub heavy in the bass guitar, and so this will be a fine time to sort of talk about why I'm replacing this thing that I already got a sound with here with the stuff that I actually want to mix with. So I used API there, and I don't necessarily always do this, but I'm replacing basically an API model with an API model. So I just take a look at what I've got. Plus 4 at 3K, minus 6 at 400, and then plus 4 at 40. That could be where the sub bump is coming from, but it's plus 4 at 3K, 400 I believe, so let's maybe 500, minus 6, and then the 40, which I don't believe that's going to remain, but or we're going to do some sort of high pass on it. So turn that on first. And I just do a comparison just to kind of see what I'm getting myself into here. It's more or less in the ballpark, so let's just get rid of those subs. Little 76, little octo. Normally I start with the guitar, or sorry, with the drums, but the bass guitar needs a little evening out here to judge anything yet. So let's just go with replacing. I mean, and the real reason that I do the plug-in switching is I just think the UA stuff sounds better for rock stuff, for organic, earthy, play with your hands, as opposed to programmed synthy stuff. Synthy stuff, the UA, analog modeled stuff I feel like is a little not quite the right flavor. It's too much harmonic saturation. And it ends up being just too kind of gunky. I don't know if there's a better word to describe it than it's to say it's oversaturated, but if you don't know what that means, it's just going to feel too overcooked or something. It's hard to explain without, knowing what saturation is. Anyway, I like the UA stuff because I feel like it sounds better, and I can't really track with it like this because of the latency involved in these plugins. So what are you gonna do? I just have have these on here as temporary, and then I just go and replace them at this stage, which is what we're talking about right now. So And basically, I'm just looking for something that feels kind of level. I've got the sub pack here in the chair, so I can really feel the subs and low end and stuff whenever they're moving. I can feel it when it's super tight. So, you know, you don't have to have a sub pack, but I find that it's like a magnifying glass for the low end. And also, having a sub in your room is going to give you more energy bouncing off the walls and stuff. And if your room is not completely perfect, which most of our rooms are not, then it just sort of cleans up your acoustics a little bit. So I feel like with that said, at the price point the sub pack is and the price pack a sub is, it's just a better idea, it's a better purchase, you know, better investment to get a sub pack than an actual sub. But, you know, to each his own. Whatever you want to do, pick your weapon, go to war, and get on with it. Okay. So I'm just listening for basically some evenness. And I want to make sure I get my loudness too. Okay. So that's more or less fine. And I'm going to put the VMR to bed so that can just go away. So now I'll put it in with the drums and see what we got. So in this attack and release, I'm listening to sort of the mid-range, the plucky thing, the plucky sort of high mid-range, maybe the 2K-ish, something like that. I'm listening for that, as well as feeling the sub of the bass guitar against the sub of the kick drum. So I'm kind of listening in two different areas. I don't want the brightness to be so loud, to be loud enough and then have no subs, or vice versa. So the mid-range is going to give us presence. It's going to give us detail. It's going to add some of the rhythmic drive. You can hear his hands actually hitting the strings or pick. And none of this here is anything final. We're just kind of getting it basically in the ballpark. Okay, so that's fairly decent. Let's see what happens when the distortion kicks in. That's decent, yeah. I'm okay with all of that. Just gonna play with the subs here for a sec. That's too far. So somewhere between this 50 and 100 is where we're gonna end up. That's on the heavy side, that's on the conservative side. If we want more mid-range drive out of the bass, then we'll leave it up here. But if we need more fatness and weight and depth, maybe not depth, but fatness and weight to the bass guitar, then we'll leave it closer to 50. So let's just keep it in the middle for now. And that way we've got our wiggle room to go either way, depending on what we need. Okay. So the bass comes off. Let's get our kick drum right. And for the kick, we're getting the attack from the real microphone inside the kick drum. And then some of the thump, pretty much all the thump, a little bit of the attack from the sample that's on the out microphone. And I'm pretty sure I already did this. Yeah, I made that decision a long time ago. So I'm not going to replace this. I actually like how this knob sounds. I like the treble on this SSL, so I'm just going to leave that. It's fine. It's getting triggered anyway, so it's not doing anything. So forget about that. I just like the gate to keep the false triggers out. So here's something I'm going to try. I often will like this DBX compressor plug-in on a kick. It makes it brighter. And what I'm going to keep in mind here is this knob right here. Do I need this if this compressor is making it brighter? So I feel like that's too much reduction. Feels a little too squished. So I feel like I'm losing a little bit of the sub information down when I have the compression up here this high. I just feel like it breathes better when there's less reduction, so let's try driving it. Oops, turn it the wrong damn way. So now it feels like it's too driven, too squished. Okay, so I'm looking for maybe a little bit of loudness boost, but overall I'm looking for a steadier loudness across each hit. And this to me feels like it's just kind of breathing a little bit too much. We want that thing to just be stuck, but still have a bigness to it. And I don't care about that bleed. It may come and bite me later, but I think I got enough snare stuff happening on the snare that that's not going to be a problem. So now we go back to, do we need this SSL plugin or not? I'm going to say, yeah, I think it's fine. I think it sounds good even. Double triggers there. So this is something I was dealing with before the stream here. I want to automate this detail. Like in the verse, I was missing some kicks in the quieter sections. So I'm just going to automate the detail down to catch some of those quieter kicks. But then when I had that setting lower to catch them, I was getting some false triggers down here in the louder section. So that's what we're doing here. Let's just go all the way up to the marker. And I think I had it at about 30 or 25 or something like that. So, and this is not rocket science here. We're just putting it somewhere. It's hopefully similar in each spot. So we'll keep an eye on that. See if we're missing kicks or if we're getting false triggers happening. We'll just something to keep an eye on here. So. And already I can feel the kick drum. It feels more like a record because it's more consistent and it's just sitting there. Like it's really solid thanks to this DBX guy here. So, and that's with not even with any compression on this the trigger. So let's try something else. I don't want to do too much reduction because it already sounds good. And I want to keep that low end nice and smooth and natural. So let's see what we have here. I don't necessarily want to use that DBX because I want to keep the low end nice and bloomy, but I'm not opposed to it either. So, let's see, what do I want to use? Let's just try one of these guys. Don't use it very often, but let's see what it does. See if there are any kick presets here. There's a drum bus. parallel. Presence, whatever. Yeah, that's way too cooked. So that's adding a lot of the sustain at the end. I'm not sure that I really like that. So let's just go manual and see what happens here instead of presets. Not sure what that does. Yeah, I'm not really loving this, honestly. All right, that feels pretty good. It feels good and tight. Low end is still bloomy. And it's not very much reduction. And it's just slightly louder than the original signal. Let's see how that is in the mix. So that's decent. So for our snare drum, we've got a real top, real bottom, and a trigger room. This is a side stick here. These two guys, little guys, which are also triggered and roomed. And then a one shot. Okay. Let's just investigate what they're doing for us here. So you can hear how the different layers sort of add up. Let's start with the one shot. So we get the kind of the body from the one shot. A little crack and sustain from the trigger. I'm not sure I can really tell the difference with the reel in there. And the room does a whole lot, obviously. So yeah, a lot of the cymbal, or a lot of the room mics are getting a lot of cymbals in them, which, yeah, for better or worse, but just an observation. So we want to be keeping these things in mind as we're mixing, like what we're getting from where. So if later we think, oh, we could use a little more, snare crack or snare sustain, where was I getting that from? Oh yeah, it was the trigger. Let me add some more of that. So we kind of want to be getting our our easel with all these different colors ready. And so we know what we got and we know where to get it from so we can get it quickly, because there's nothing worse when you have a creative idea and you got to spend 10 or 15 minutes, messing around trying to find it and execute it. Because the real big reason is you always want to maintain your perspective at all times when you're doing something creative, because if you don't, you don't know where you're going. Like, you just kind of lose track of what you meant to do, what the artistic intent is, and then that's how you end up with something that's diluted and not very good. So we always want to be staying focused on our idea so that we can have the purest idea and the purest representation of that idea in the end. So maintain our perspective. That's the most critical thing, I think, in all of at least making music. I can't speak for everything else, but I feel like it's probably the same. Always want to maintain your perspective. That's the thing you guard the most with absolutely everything. That's why we shut off cell phones. That's why we blah, 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 do all this other stuff to keep distractions out of the room. We want to maintain our perspective and our focus. So with that said, I want to be keeping in mind what we've got, what we're getting from each individual track and how it's adding to our final mix and our end goal. So carrying on. I believe we were going to be mixing the snare drum. So now we kind of know what each drum is doing, and we can sort of start to mix it and keep, just kind of get everything under control. So let's start with probably the triggers and the one-shots. Add a little compression just to kind of, keep it behaving. Man, crazy. Like, this trigger room is like the most critical one. Even the drum tone is still in there. Even though it sounds like it's all room. Like, that sounds cool, but it doesn't have the vibe or whatever that the room does. So, like, you can take away the close samples and the mix is not that bad, surprisingly. The tone is still there, but the closeness is not, obviously, because if you mute the close, you don't have the close. So let's start with a little bit of this. A little compression here on the trigger. And again, we're just looking for something that's just keeping it under control. I'm not doing anything drastic here. I think it already sounds good. So we don't want to go destroying stuff, taking points off the board. So I'm just checking to see if this is mono, and it feels like it is. So what I'm going to do is do a down mixer so I can conserve my UAD CPU here. I basically use half the CPU if it's mono. If it's stereo, that's fine. But if it's stereo that's actually mono, then you're just wasting resources by keeping it stereo. So just try and add a little compression here, see what happens. Losing some transients there with the fast attack. This is not something I really want to notice. Just a little bit of reduction there just to kind of keep the edge off. But one thing we can do is to learn about what we've got and what these tracks are doing for us. We can just sort of play with it and see what happens. Like, oh, what happens if I do a 10K shelf and turn it up? Is it better or is it worse? We're just kind of exploring and jamming at this point. So I like that top shelf. I think it's cool. It may fall apart once I need that space for the lead vocal, but for now, I'm going to leave it. And then also, for now, so that's stereo. What I'm going to do is just copy the settings down to this guy. Leave that guy stereo. Let's see what that does. So this guy's got a little more body to it. He's contributing more body than crack. And there's some bright, snarey sounding stuff in there that I don't necessarily want to accentuate. I don't mind it, but I don't want to be cranking up the 10K on this one. So I'm going to leave it kind of dark and get on with my life. Oh, toms are always a pain in the butt. Just they barely get played, and there's so many of them, you know. So lately I've been just kind of batch processing them. Mostly, yeah, it looks like these are all kind of got the same top shelf on it. So these are the real toms. I thought they sounded good enough to keep, so no samples here. And so I've got, as you can see, bus to the toms here. And I just do a group process there. So, brilliant. So I had that big shelf that I just chopped off down here. So, I mean, go figure. This is probably just leftover from the last mix that I did. That's with them completely raw, except for that top end boost up here in the individual tracks. It sounds pretty good in solo. Put it in the mix there. Now this is another one of those cases where I'm going to play with the top end. I'm going to add it back in from this cut here and see if it gets worse or if it gets better. And what I'm listening for when I do this is kind of how bright is the brightness compared to that snare brightness that we added. So I kind of want not necessarily full uniformity, but something that resembles uniformity. You know, they can be different. I'm not opposed to it being, you know, a little bit darker or whatever, but so that's what I'm listening for. The kick and snare brightness. I want all the shells to kind of be somewhat in the ballpark of how they sound. Add a little loudness. So the kick drum sounds louder than the snare drum, but I'm just going to leave it for a moment until I investigate how the snare is doing in an actual groove. Because if Phil, you know, he's going all over the place, so he may not be concentrating on really hitting this, really digging into the snare drum. Okay, that sounds more even. Let me check out a Phil. Quiet there. Sounds decent. Okay. So a couple of fills are loud, a couple are good, a couple are too quiet. That just be a case by case per fill. So I just go down here to the group and automate it up and down when the time comes. And I don't know what that's going to be until I get all the guitars and stuff in there. So I'm going to leave that for now. It sounds good enough for now, even though I know that there are some spots that don't sound perfect in solo. But we don't care about solo. We care about the whole mix. So put the bass guitar back in. We'll move on. Now right away, I feel like that the bass might be a little too mid-rangey with this 3 or 4K right here. That might be too much. Let's cut that back. You feel how that sort of clouds the transient of the drum when I bring that up and when I bring it down. It makes the drums clearer. Try going to the fat side of this high pass here. So let me try going through here and so there's a point, every mix you have to decide this. Does the kick or the bass guitar occupy the lowest frequencies of your mix? You know, you can go sub-heavy bass or sub-heavy kick. You usually can't do both. There are some tricks that you can employ that can maybe help you get away with that. I'm going to say most of the time, and especially for like beginners or even intermediate mixers, like you ain't ready for that. Like that's a more complicated thing. You got bigger fish to fry than that. So with that said, I want to find where the subs of this kick drum really sing. I made videos about this before, so I'm just going to kind of go through this quicker than I usually do. So actually, the end may not be the one to get this from. I might do it from the sample. I'm going to investigate it either way. So pretty good there at 50. Feeling a little high there. Losing it there. Feels good there. Really sings at 55. It sounds good there, a little tighter. Let's leave it at 51 here. And then we'll check out the out. With any luck, they'll be the same. Is it doing? Oh, yeah. Gotta put it after the trigger, not before it. 40 feels pretty good. It's a subtle one. $55 works. Too high there. So we got a wider range to work with in this out, the trigger signal. Yeah, 55 would be the highest I would go in this one. So 40 to 55 is a decent range. So we're going to put them together. Make sure that we're not doing any weird canceling. That sounds pretty cool there. That's pretty cool there. So we got 40 there and 50 there. I'm kind of surprised that works, but you know, who cares? So we don't notice that in the mix because we've got the high pass on the bass guitar fairly low on the fat side of it, if you recall that. So I'm going to sweep that up a little bit and see where the kick drum starts to really come out of the subs. So it feels decent there. It reacts differently depending on what the sound of the guitar is, which is no surprise. Again, it's just something we got to be mindful of if we're having problems later that are related to that. So I'm going to leave it because I don't really necessarily want to be messing with automating this. It seems like you shouldn't have to do that. So I'm going to try and make it work at this 75-ish mark here. Whoops. Which is kind of where it originally was. Okay, so we got bass and we got drums. It may feel a little cloudy in the subs, but I'll decide that kind of once I get to my reference, which I might as well do right now. So we'll see where we're living at here.
On how I'm taking this motherfucker down, 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 down. Sometimes I feel like I am sinking.
Yeah, a little too murky there. So I could probably, I'm just going to shave a little bit off of the bass, a little off the bass. And then not boost those kick ones as high. So yeah, just kind of bring it down some arbitrary amount that we call a little bit, and we'll compare it again. That feels fair. That feels pretty fair in terms of evenness. I know the genre is different. But I know that recording, and I like the cleanliness of the subs on it, so that's what I look for. I look for that amount of low end on almost anything that I do. I just feel like the low end is just huge and clean on that. So we're on our way here. That's a good amount of low end. It's a little bit of cleanup to do, and I may have to go in there with something more surgical on the bass to clean that up. But I think we're ready to start adding some more stuff here. And I didn't really touch any of the room mics. I kind of usually don't. I just usually forget about them. They're doing what they're doing. I set the balance whenever I track it, and I may go and compress something or not. You know, spot mics are the same. Like, all the work has kind of already been done on these guys. The placement and the level that they're at. I don't want to be doing a whole lot of stuff to them. I might do some low cuts or something on the spot mics, but you know, again, it's a situation of like kind of who cares. Like, what am I gonna do that? I could boost the top end like a rookie and then ruin the recording. I mean, the overheads are. What's going on here? Yeah, a little mid-range Little presence cut there. Let's add some of that back in. The volume boost there. Just for good measure. My hi-hat should be on there. Oh yeah, it is. I mean, I don't know. It's just they sound fine, so I'm gonna leave them alone. If I find I need more brightness out of them, then that's where I'll go. I'll go to probably the spots and just turn the brightness up there. Which, you know, there's tons of crap batch process there, so not a whole lot of reason to do much to the individual tracks there. So, okay, moving on here. Let's try V3 for this guitar, the main guitar. Right away, it feels kind of a little too dark. I don't want to cut too much, but, you know. I don't think I want to do the API comp here, so. It's a lot of reduction, doesn't sound like it, but I want to see how it is in the track. Okay, so all I'm listening for there is, I heard 1 or 2 notes pop out in loudness, so that's why I put this attack all the way fast, because, you know, it's really just got to sit there and behave, nothing too crazy, and I want to make sure that I'm not destroying it on the intro when it's by itself. Yeah, good at crackling and stuff. Cutting a little more low end than I originally planned on, but it's fine. Let's see if it sticks. So cutting more low end is going to help me get a little less reduction and a little less of that crunchiness that I was getting a second ago. Okay, I'm okay with all of that. And then let's just keep moving on here. I'll come back to that. It's an ambient thing at the end of the song. So I'll put that, yeah, put that there. So that's the same. I feel like it needs kind of this exact same processing. So let's just go ahead and copy it down and see what happens. A little crunchy crunch there. Yeah, we don't need that low end for sure. Try a different comp. Just needs a little limiting, and I care a little less about the crunching of stuff because it's not, that guitar is never by itself. So and I'm just kind of looking for some reduction around 2 to 3. Just want to make sure, again, it feels level without being too squished. So I'm going to try this Neve EQ here, just because I want something that I feel is kind of a wide band or whatever you call it, wide Q, because I don't want to notice the spike in EQ. I want it to just feel brighter. Let's see, so maybe, I don't know, 3K. And then this has a built-in low cut, so I'm going to disable the API. Just to kind of add to the retro sort of feel. Try something clean here. This one, I think? No. Yeah, 33609. Again, just looking for not too much reduction, something that keeps it in control. So I'm going to experiment. I like the brightness of it. The brightness is nice and even. The mid-range is good. I want to see if I can add some body back into it. Just see if it's available to get, or if it sounds good, or where it should be. That's too high. Yeah, all that's too high, so... Oh, I guess keep the API after all. Or maybe we just add it down here. Yeah, try 100. Try playing with the top end here. See how much I can get away with cutting. Okay, I like that for now. It's cool. So let's get to this part, which is, I think, is possibly my favorite little piece of the song. This rotosphere kind of section. Looks like we already did some work there. Now, I bypassed this on all these other plugins up here, or sorry, these other tracks. And this one I'm going to leave because it was just a part of the sound design, and it's, you know, basically taking points off the board. So I'm going to leave that one and then just try and get something that's going to take care of it in the mix. Might be a little loud, but we'll see what happens when the vocals get in. So, okay, now the chorus guitars. So I loaded some presets, maybe trash, but that's where we're at. Yeah, I think I made it worse. First thing I hear is it's a little murky, a little fizzy on top. Which the fizzy sounds good, but I don't, I'm gonna keep in mind, like, do I need it or do I need to cut it? So I basically cut some of the murk here at 500, added some weight at 100, and then got my quote-unquote treble at 2.5K. It's a shelf, which I have offset by cutting at around 5K. And that's how we got from this to this. You can hear that in the mix. So you feel how they kind of now have a point. You can say, oh, there's the guitar. It was right there. Before, they're kind of like just hiding in the mix. There's maybe a curtain over them or something like that. So that 2K boost will let the guitars stick out, and then the 500 cut will get them out of the way of the bass guitar and all the low-end stuff that's in the mix. And then the weight will make them not feel so thin. So that's kind of why we made each of those. And then these over here, high and low pass, I kind of think of it as like, well, I need to trap the guitars in a range. I don't want anything less than this, and I don't want anything above that, because we've got cymbals above here, we've got bass and kick drum here, below here, that we need to, not compete with. So that's why we do all that stuff. So we got an overdub guitar downstream here. Again, like the preset loaded, which is probably not very good. Looks like I didn't. Looks like I did not do that. Okay, so anyways, factory defaults. Let's see what we got here. Load the loop. Okay, so off the bat, I'm looking for not a lot doing here, just something that just kind of keeps it in check. It can kind of press it against the glass a little bit. A distressor on electric guitars, so leave that bypass for now. And tone-wise, I feel like what we're going for here, even though I produced this, I should know this, but it was a couple weeks ago that we tracked it. It sounds like we're going for a character sound, not like a really clean, well-behaved electric guitar. So we're going to treat it as a character sound and not going to try to make it sound as good as possible. We're going to try and make it sound as cool as possible. So we're going for character here, not fidelity like we did with these guys, the main rhythms. So again, I'm just going to jam. Try some stuff out, see what pops out, see what makes it suck, see what makes it good, and then we'll try to get most of the good and least of the suck. about that. The ultimate Queens of the Stone Age mid-range there. I may want to bring that fizz in, but like I said, we'll see in the mix. I'm not sure about what to do here yet. I'm going to leave it there for now, and we'll decide what happens when the vocals come in. So get the solo going here. So that feels like it's kind of sitting right on top of the mix. May be something that changes when lead vocals get in there. So the low guy I want to have not so much presence, so he can be there but not be as present as the high guy. So he's kind of the lead, and the low guy is supporting him. So if they're each bright, then they're going to be flamming against each other, with the pick attack. So we don't want that. We just want the presence of the low end to sit there and just sort of be ghosting and be spooky and all of that. So I will take off the treble boosts for that and see how it sits. Trying to fight the body this gives me, trying to fight the the bumpy subs that this boost gives me, but also I like the weight in the body that the boost gives me too. So trying to cut the bumps but keep the weight. All right, I'm okay with that for now. Let's check out these acoustics. So obviously an ambient thing. Obviously pretty bright. So I'm going to try and vibe it up with something that's kind of really retro. Oh, what's that? Neve something or other. What is that one called? 2254, I think. Except I want it to be multi-mono and not stereo. Make sure I got a multi-mono selected on these guys too. Yeah, mono there. Oh, never mind. They're all mono because they're mono tracks. Never mind. Sometimes I do it as a stereo track like this. I bust these guys to stereo, which is why I was checking. So again, just a little bit of reduction here. Gonna try and get it balanced and sounding good and even, dry, and then I'll put the effects back on. So you'll notice I got two echo boys here. This one has got no time on it. It's mostly set for just tone. Super clean there. A little detune, a little saturation, a little nastiness, retroness here. So here I want to actually have some echo effects here in this guy. So all right, I like that for now. So then we got the bass synth in the chorus. And this is super, super subtle. You're supposed to just feel it pulse and get bigger, not like, hey, check out the synth player. You know, this is a three-piece band, guitar, bass, drums. Can't be adding a bunch of stuff that, you know, is not them. So this is just subtle. That's doing nothing, so I can turn that off. And it's also doing nothing. Add a little saturation here. Let's try this other UA comp here. Uh, 165, I think. What is that one called? 175. Oh, don't crash. What are you doing? It's crashing. Great. All right. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Thanks, Pro Tools. So I noticed that note was not firing every time it went by. Let's figure out why. Maybe it's a duplicate note. Looks like it. There we go. So let's just do that the whole time in case there are any other ones. And then what is this here? Oh yeah, that's the intro as the outro. Okay. Cool. It's moving right along here. Yeah, I like that just fine. I'm not too really concerned about it. I'm more concerned about the automation, how it enters and how it exits. But as a pad, it's just sitting there, so it's fine. As long as it's not too loud, is kind of my main concern. Try that guy there, see what that does. Gonna see how much of this I can get away with in the chorus. Okay, that's all reasonable. Let's check out the intro here. Okay, that's reasonable. I don't think I feel like dealing with this outro just yet. Let me start with the lead vocals here. So a little presence boost, a little 4K or 400 cut, some reduction, whoop-de-doo.
Faint are the cries of a newborn, restless and hungry for nurture. Mother is no longer a caretaker. Father is no longer a wage worker. She cries. Shoplifting, steal from the rich, keep for themselves, forced to the streets, so anguished.
Yeah, so off the bat I was hearing a little too much mud, a little too much low end. So yeah, I cut some 400, made it a shelf, and then cut some 500 above that. So just to kind of clear extra mud out. So a little 5K. We'll see what else happens here. A distressor just to keep everything level. And then I'll probably do an LA2A after that because I just like how it sounds. So let's go ahead and set that up. LA-2A silver.
Faint are the cries of a newborn, restless and hungry for nurture. Mother is no longer a caretaker. Father is no longer a wage worker. She cries. Surprised. 12 years later, the shoplifting, steal from the rich, keep for themselves,
So I brought this down in clip gain. It was just, I feel like I was getting too much reduction there in relation to everything else. So I'll make up for that if I have to in the volume, which is going to be downstream of all this reduction here.
Faint are the cries of a newborn, restless and hungry for nurture. Mother is no longer a caretaker.
Just gonna play with some effects here.
Father is no longer a wage worker. She cries.
Got a little gap here, so I'm going to just give a little boost to that effect here. This is just a generic effect that I just made a bunch of reverbs and delays, and just something that's got a ton of stuff happening. Nothing, no rhythm in particular, but just a lot of stuff.
Of a child, not strong enough, become so prudent.
So if I want a real vibey, ambient, thick vocal effect thing, I just send it to that Vox FX preset I made.
Strong as the will of a child, not strong enough, become so prudent. Everything you see is not what it seems. Breathe in the air of an evergreen. See what's beneath the face of a liar. Breathe in the air of an evergreen. Everything you see is not what it seems. Breathe in the air of an evergreen. See what's beneath the face of a liar. Breathe in the air of an
So yeah, had the vocals feeling a little bit too tucked in the choruses there. Didn't need to boost it in the verse.
Strong is the mind of a merchant, but weak is a hand when they need it most.
Gonna go back to that snare drum brightness and take that off and see what happens.
Strong is the mind of a
feels more natural to me.
Weak as a hand when they need it most. Strong as the will of a child. Not strong enough, become so prudent. Strong.
Here from the top.
Faint are the cries of a newborn, restless and hungry for nurture. Mother is no longer a caretaker. Father is no longer a wage worker. She cries.
So same thing. I'm going to try and raise these to hit the compressor, hopefully without being too loud or too smushed, and I'll make up for that with the volume downstream of all the reduction.
Faint are the cries of a newborn, restless and hungry for nurture. Mother is no longer a caretaker. Father is no longer
I feel like hitting too hard
a
there.
wage worker.
Yeah, too much.
She cries. Surprise. 12 years later. Faint are the cries of a newborn, restless and hungry for nurture.
Yeah, that feels pretty level.
Mother is no longer a caretaker.
Now we set the volume.
Father is no longer a wage worker. She cries. Surprise. 12 years later, the shoplifting. Steal from the rich, keep for themselves. Forced to the streets, so anguished. Cold out of grief, so dangerous. Everything you see is not what it seems. Breathe in the air of an evergreen. See what's beneath the face of a liar. Breathe in the air of an evergreen. Strong is the mind of a merchant.
One helpful little trick. Boost your chorus by half dB on the master fader.
Cold out of grief, so dangerous. Everything you see is not what it seems. Breathe in the air of an evergreen. See what's beneath the face of a liar. Breathe in the air of an evergreen. But everything you see is not what it seems. Breathe in the air of an evergreen. See what's beneath the face of a liar. Breathe in the air of an evergreen. Everything you see is not what it seems. Breathe in the air. Forced to the streets, so anguished. Cold out of grief, so dangerous. Everything you see is not what it seems. Breathe in the air of an evergreen. See.
So I'm not doing anything too crazy here with these backing vocals, just trying to level them out and make them not too loud. You know, again, it's a 3-piece band, so we can't be getting too big with the arrangement. I'm almost treating these vocals, especially the high ones, as almost as if they were like a chorus effect or something like that. Like, I don't mean chorus like the part of the song, but like just something that's there, making them feel sparkly without being like, hey, there's 2 musical parts there. So I wanted to basically feel it and not so much hear it, if that makes any sense. The pre-chorus and verse, I think it's better as a unique musical part than it is in the chorus. But so I'm going to try and tuck it more in the chorus, make it less noticeable there, and then we'll be kind of feature it more on the verses.
Each worker, she cries. Surprise. 12 years later, they're shoplifting. Steal from the rich, keep for themselves. Forced to the streets, so anguished. Cold out of grief, so dangerous. Everything you see is not what it seems. Worker, she cries. Surprise. 12 years later, they're shoplifting. Steal from the rich, keep for themselves. Forced to the streets, so anguished. Cold out of grief, so dangerous. Everything you see is Age worker, she cries.
Probably going to be louder in that whole throw.
Surprise. Surprise. 12 years later. Surprise.
Yeah, way up for that.
Surprise. 12 years later, she cries. Surprise. 12 years later.
Just trying to feature this part a little bit here.
She cries. Surprise. 12 years later, they're shoplifting. Steal from the rich, keep for themselves. Forced to the streets, so anguished.
Yeah, so nothing to do there except for just balance him out, you know, make sure he's panning in the right spot, which I, decided when we tracked it. Just something to change, just something to support the solo, but doesn't need a whole lot of processing, just a balance. It's pretty leveled out as it is. You can tell by the waveform there. So let's get these oohs going here.
Everything you see is not what it seems. Breathe in
Ah, I like the echo on there. Cool. Yeah, so that almost gives it, it's a half note, so it gives it like almost this double track sense because it's octaves going back and forth. So just a little EQ, a little, dynamic reduction, some leveling and stuff. About all we need here. Let's see, what tool do I want to use for this? Try a little mud out. Some more fucking bands on it. Just keeping it level. So it looks like it's a duplicate of that. So we will just copy that and maybe make it brighter with the other one, or might keep them separate EQ-wise, like we did the guitar solo and the low guitar solo. Or this might be cool to have them both be bright in the sense that there's no consonants, there's no flamming to be had, only chorusing effects. So that might actually make it cooler. So let's add it and see what happens. Add a little bit of the murk back in there just for some body, but kept the high-end boost on both of them.
Everything you see is not what
take some of that murk back out. It's cluttering up the mix. I'll automate that feedback just so it kind of hangs around a little longer. This one too. Oops. Can't get there faster than that. Still cutting out. Maybe we boost the volume. Forget all this. This is futile. I'm going to add an echo boy there. Let's see what this does. Oops, that was the wrong thing. May still not be enough. That'll probably do it. All right, a lot of stuff happening here in this ring out. A lot of fun to be had here. Let's start with the drums. That's kind of the core piece of it, I guess. Drums right before I get the vocals right. So I think I have to, this looks like, this track here is a plug-in processed version of the main clean. So I probably ought to match the processing with that before the effects start popping. What is going on with this guy? Okay, so that's part of the effect. And so let's copy this and this one. So it's got kind of the same tone. not sure what exactly this track is for. It seems like it's doing the same thing as this one. In terms of what its role is, I know it's clean at the front of the other one. I mean, I put a pan man on it and give it something to do. Make sure we're not mudding up the joint here. I seem to have confused myself. I'm not sure why this track is here. think. Yep. We got this guy, this vocal thing. So I guess I'll just put a compressor on it and call it big. Just needs to sit there level. Put a little decapitator on that. What up, Eric? How you doing, bro?